Do my credit cards affect getting a loan?
Good question, Luke, and it's something that definitely comes up with most applications that we work with and most of the customers that come in for the first time. So yes, they certainly do. So with your credit cards, regardless of whether you pay your credit cards down to zero every month or you leave them outstanding or you pay the minimum, the bank will basically take the limit as your liability. So they basically say if you've got a limit of $10,000, if you do pay it down every month, you have access to $10,000 to go out and spend if you wanted to. So they always look at worst case scenario, and the worst case scenario is you've gone out and spent the $10,000, which means you need to take into account the repayment on that credit card at a $10,000 limit. So if you've got very, very high limits, that would mean that the repayments that they're looking at in terms of what you need to pay off that credit card are going to be quite high, which will decrease how much you can borrow. So if you are in terms of your situation, you're trying to get as much out of the bank as you can and borrow much more, reducing credit card limits can always assist to get you a bit more in terms of your loan amount. So they do definitely have an impact, and it's important to kind of, when you sit down, understand what limits are, how much you really need those credit cards, and if it's impacting the application, taking steps to decreasing those or getting rid of credit cards in total.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Marshall. I think banks tend to be a little bit generous with credit limits.
Certainly.
And what would you say to people that have multiple credit cards?
Yeah, look, it's one of those things that it certainly does affect your credit score having more than one credit card. So we know for a fact that if you have two credit cards at $5,000 limits versus one credit card at $10,000 limits, it's more negative on your credit report. So, consolidating them at least into one credit card and maintaining one credit card is a better step. Not having any credit cards is obviously the ideal situation to be in. Credit cards aren't good debt, and as Cam's mentioned, you always get those letters in the mail saying if increase, just all you got to do is click this button, off you go. Don't be too tempted to take it to say what just in case we might need it, because if you are coming back to borrowing and you do have a strategy of buying more property, you're going to need more debt. So you'll need to obviously make sure that you're reining in those credit card limits and the number of credit cards, because it certainly will affect your loan application. We look forward to receiving your questions, and you can post your questions either on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, or you can private message us on Facebook. Send through your questions and we look forward to answering them.